talk today will center around Africapitalism, what it is, why we all need to embrace it, how it'll take us to the future, and how all of you can become Africapitalists, like mini Tony Elumelus, doing remarkable work in your communities, in your cities, in your countries, and for our entire African region at large. Why does Africa matter? Why are we debating and discussing Africapitalism? Well, Africa is home to the world's 12% oil reserves, 40% of its gold, 80 to 90% of its chromium and platinum, 60% of the world's underutilized arable land, and vast timber resources. By 2050, we will have a $29 trillion economy in Africa. Africa's middle class is rising at an unprecedented pace. Africa's consumers are becoming more empowered, are demanding Western foreign tastes. Africa is the future. Africa is the final frontier. But why in the midst of all this many resources is Africa not yet the global powerhouse that we can be, that we have the capacity to be? Why are we still battling with unemployment, poverty, disease, maternal mortality, and the rest? Why haven't we fully utilized our resources? Why haven't we transformed our region and the world at large? Well, by 2025, we will have 122 million young Africans in the workforce. The current situation today has no room to employ all these young people. Thousands of young people are graduating universities with no hope, no opportunities, no employment. The situation today is only going to become even more dire in the future. Africa needs Africapitalism in order to provide for all 120 million of you young people that are going to enter our workforce by 2025. It doesn't end there. An economy based mainly on extraction cannot take us anywhere. We've been doing this for the past 50 years. As our CEO, as my boss, Pamenda Vie just stated, we need a new approach to development. We cannot continue like this. Resource exports, which is what mainly African nations do, cannot provide the type of growth that we need. I'm sure a few years ago, a lot of you read the McKinsey research that said 8 of the top 10 fastest growing countries in the world are in Africa. Well, where are those countries today? A lot of them have currencies that are doing so poorly that they're having to redominate their currencies. So you see the kind of growth that we're used to on the continent is a kind of unsustainable, commodity-dependent growth. It is not the growth that employs you and I. It is not the growth that empowers our entrepreneurs. The way Africa was growing from 2002 to 2007, the so-called growth boom, was only adding employment by 0.036%. That means that we'll have to grow by 28% at least each year to add just 1% to employment. Do you see that this situation is not sustainable? Do you see that we need to embrace a new way of thinking, a new way of doing business, a new way of governance, a new way of being Africans? Africa is so blessed that we're able to manage without doing more. But then to take us to the 21st century, to cater for our 122 million young people, we cannot continue to manage. We have to do something radical. We have to embrace a new philosophy. Let's go to Ghana. I like chocolates. I'm a chocolate fan. Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa in the world. But do you know that Ghana only processes 5% of this cocoa? So essentially what happens is that Ghana, supported by Côte d'Ivoire, they take their cocoa and they export it to Switzerland, UK, America, where they produce Mars bars, Twix, Maltesers, and we buy it. Do you know that majority of Ghana's cocoa farmers have never tasted chocolate because they cannot afford chocolate? But they're doing the hard work of growing this cocoa. They're the ones on the farm toiling day and night. But then at the end of the day, the final commodity, the chocolate, they can't even afford it. Something needs to change. We can't continue like this. Let's go to Kenya. Kenya is the world's second largest producer of coffee. Kenya produces a lot of coffee. But in the last 2-3 years, something bad was happening to coffee. The price started going down. And while other governments were supporting their coffee farmers, shielding them from the harsh macroeconomic environment, Kenya's government did little. And so the farmers started to revolt. They started to dump coffee for more lucrative crops. Now, mind you, coffee is one of the most strategic sectors in Kenya. So if the employees in your most strategic sector is dumping the crop, what hope do you really have? How can you compete on that global arena? If you're not protecting the people that drive your economy, if you're not doing like what the United States does, what the UK does, what Canada does in a very strategic manner, if you're not doing that, if you're leaving your employees, if you're leaving your farmers to suffer, best believe they're not going to remain farmers for much longer. Let's go to my favorite country, Nigeria. Now, Nigeria spends $20 billion each year to import refined petroleum products. Nigeria is the 8th largest producer of petrol. Analysts have said that Nigeria only needs $1.2 billion to revamp its refineries to take it to the level it needs to produce more refined petrol. But then the bottlenecks, the red tape, the bureaucracy, the obstacles have refused this investment from happening. Because all of us think in such a short-term manner. We don't think of the future. We don't even think of next year, talk less of future generation. So the refineries are at a stage now where it's unable to add anything to refine goods in a country. How can we progress, my sisters and brothers? The good news, with Africapitalism, a transformation can take place. Transformation is possible, but it requires a number of things. It requires courage, conscience, vision, and a new mindset. Not from only our business and policy leaders, but from every one of us, especially, most especially you, our young entrepreneurs. Africapitalism is not simply same old capitalism in Africa. It's not capitalism to make only Africans rich. We've gotten that. It's not racist capitalism. And it's not Africans exploiting Africans. It's something fundamentally different. Before I introduce what Africapitalism is, I'd like to go to one of my favorite quotes from the founder of the foundation. He says, "The future we want for ourselves is one of our own making." As Africans, as I said, we cannot continue to rely on third-party, external goodwill, partnerships with development institutions to take us to the next level. That's not sustainable. That will not work. What is the role of government in all of this? Entrepreneurs can't do it on their own. Businesses can't do it on their own. We can't have a 21st century workforce or business environment without 21st century laws, regulatory and administrative frameworks. Government has a unique role to play in making sure that the enabling environment is there to empower and encourage investors such as you, my formidable class of 2016, 20 million entrepreneurs in a room, such that you have the passion to invest in your countries. Government has a unique role in that they need to make sure that doing business is easy for you, you're safe while you do business, and then it's done in a transparent manner. Investors won't come to a place where they don't even know how the laws operate. Investors won't come to a place where they are afraid that they will lose all their money and government won't even look at them. Investors won't come into such a climate. So government has a unique role to provide the conditions that investors need to be reassured to bring in their money. The environment that encourages entrepreneurs to take that risk, take that chance, and start a business. An investment climate that makes it easy to register a business, such that it doesn't take you 6 months to wait for a permit. It doesn't take you 10 years to file your tax procedures. It doesn't take you 5 months to pay for power, electricity. It doesn't take you 18 months to get a permit to use a building. These are the tiny things that add up, and these are the tiny things that only government can solve. So no matter how passionate you are about Africapitalism, you can't be a true Africapitalist if government is not, playing its role. Africapitalism builds the productive power of Africa's economies, the purchasing power of Africa's middle class, and builds the diverse and resilient economies that we need in Africa, such that when there are commodity shocks as we're having now, our currencies don't crash, our countries don't fall into recession, we lose our jobs, we battle 50% youth unemployment. No. We need to change it such that resilient, diverse economies are built by entrepreneurs and business leaders, supported by policymakers.